The sky was burning. Towers of fire rose from what was once a peaceful human colony. Screams echoed across the valleys as dark alien ships hovered above, raining down destruction. A calm voice spoke, almost like a whisper in the storm. This was Earth's fate the day they came. They were called the Zorveth Dominion, a cold, ruthless empire that stretched across the stars. They had technology far beyond human understanding. Energy weapons that melted steel, shields that stopped entire armies, and minds that showed no mercy. Earth didn't stand a chance. The war lasted only 6 days. On the 7th, silence fell. Cities turned to dust. Oceans boiled. Satellites vanished from orbit. The blue planet was shattered, not just in body, but in spirit. The humans that survived were not heroes or soldiers. They were prisoners. The Zorveth called them a labor species. Slaves. And so humanity was broken. They were scattered across alien planets like seeds in the wind, forced to build the very machines that destroyed their home. Children were born, in cages. Parents died nameless. Hope became a myth. History was erased. The stars, once a dream, became a prison. But even in darkness, a spark can survive. On the mining world of Journus 6, a boy named Kale was born in the shadow of Zorveth Towers. His mother died during a tunnel collapse. He never knew his father. All he had was his mind, his anger, and a strange hunger to understand. Kale worked with machines, huge alien drills that cut through the planet's crust. But at night, when the guards were gone, he studied something different. Buried deep in the walls of the old tunnels, he had found a broken human device, a fragment of the past, a data chip. Over months, Kyle fixed it using scraps and memory. When it finally lit up, it whispered stories, old Earth languages, lost blueprints, images of human warships that once flew through the stars. He was only 16, but his heart burned like fire. They think we are animals, he told himself. They think we forgot who we are. But Kale remembered. One day, while working near the deepest section of the mine, a strange sound echoed through the stone. Not a rock slide, not a drill, a signal. It repeated in short, sharp bursts. Kale's chip began to glow again, this time on its own. The message was ancient, encoded in an old Earth military pattern. He rushed back to his bunk, heart pounding, and played it through the tiny speaker. It said only 6 words. The fire sleeps beneath our ruins. Wake it. Kyle stared at the message for hours. Who sent it? How did it survive? Was Earth still alive? He couldn't sleep that night. He couldn't think of anything else. In the dark, surrounded by the heavy breathing of tired slaves, Kale made a decision. He would find the source of that signal. He would go back to Earth. And if the fire truly slept beneath the ruins, then it was time to wake it. Time for the Zorveth to remember the one mistake they made. They enslaved the wrong species. The mining tunnels of Uranus 6 were quiet in the early hours, filled only with the hum of sleeping machines. Kyle moved carefully, through the shadows, his heart beating like a drum in his chest. He had prepared for this moment for weeks. Every spare part, every stolen ration, every piece of information from the old human chip, it all led to this night. He had stolen a Zorveth communicator, rewired with Earth code, and used it to track the origin of the strange signal. It pointed to one forbidden location. Earth. Not the Earth he had seen in stories. Green, blue, beautiful. The Earth now was silent, broken, and surrounded by Zorveth warships. No slaves were allowed near it. They said it was cursed, haunted, dead. Kyle knew. Better. Something had survived. Stealing a ship from a Zorveth port was suicide. But Kyle wasn't alone. He had quietly gathered a team, other humans like him, born into slavery, but hungry for more. Lena, a tech specialist from a prison lab on Zycra 8. Darrow, a mechanic who once repaired Zorveth fighters with his bare hands. Nox, silent and dangerous, a fighter raised in the pits of Varkal Prime. They met in secret, planned in whispers. Their goal was simple: reach Earth or die trying. The night of escape came with lightning storms and chaos. A chemical fire broke out in one of the hangars, a perfect distraction. As alarms rang and guards rushed, Kale and his team climbed aboard an old Zorveth shuttle and launched into space. Pursuit was immediate. Sleek alien warships followed them through the stars, firing pulses of deadly blue light. But Lena had modified the ship's engines and Darrow rerouted the shields. The small shuttle weaved through debris fields, old war wrecks, and asteroid paths. One lucky hyperspace jump, and they were gone. When Earth finally appeared before them, no one spoke. The planet was scarred. Cracked continents, blackened skies. Zorveth satellites hovered above it like metal vultures. But below the surface, Kyle knew something still burned. Their ship dropped into the shadow side, where scanners were weakest. They landed in the ruins of a human city, once called Seattle, now buried beneath ash and silence. The air was thin. The buildings were bones. But beneath the rubble, Kale's chip began to glow again. He followed it down through broken streets and collapsed train stations, past cracked walls marked with forgotten graffiti. "We fight still and Earth remembers." Then they found it. A hidden elevator door buried behind a shattered monument. It opened at Kale's touch. The elevator descended into darkness for over a minute. Then the doors slid open. They stepped into a vast underground vault, still powered, after all these years. Screens flickered to life. Lights hummed. A soft voice echoed through the air. "Welcome, human. Identification required." Kale stepped forward. Name: Kyle, descendant of Earth, here to wake the fire. A pause. Voice print accepted. "Welcome back, humanity." The vault was called Project Helix. Inside were ancient records, maps, weapons, training modules, even recorded messages from old Earth leaders. But most shocking of all were the blueprints for something called the Iron Dreadnoughts, human battleships built in secret before the final war, hidden across moons and asteroid fields, waiting for activation. One dreadnought remained in orbit, cloaked, never found by the Zorveth, and it could still fly. Kale stared at the image on the screen. A massive armored ship shaped like a blade, covered in railguns and torpedo bays. Humanity's last sword. "Can we get it online?" Lena asked. "We have to," Kale said, "because we're not hiding anymore." But before they could plan their next move, alarms began to sound. The Zorveth had found them. Kale and his team raced back to the surface, pursued by armored hunter drones. Blue lasers cut through the darkness as debris exploded around them. Darrow was hit in the leg, but Nox carried him without a word. They reached the ship just as the Zorveth landed dropships nearby. Soldiers began to swarm the ruins. Kale slammed a command into the control panel. "Bring the dreadnought here, now." Far above, something stirred. In orbit, hidden behind a broken space station, the Iron Dreadnought came to life. Engines roared, systems powered up. Weapons glowed. It descended like a storm god. Zorveth soldiers looked up just in time to see the dreadnought's cannons light up. Plasma rounds tore through the sky. Dropships exploded. Earth's surface shook. Kale's shuttle lifted off and docked with the dreadnought's side hangar. Inside, the crew stepped into a command center untouched by time. The controls were human. The AI greeted them. "Commander Kale, awaiting orders." Kale looked out the window at the stars. "Set course for Journey 6. We're going to free them." "And after that?" Lena asked. Kale's eyes burned with something deeper than anger. "After that, we burn the Empire." The Iron Dreadnought moved like a shadow through space, silent but powerful. Its armor reflected no light. Its weapons were quiet, but ready. For the first time in decades, a human warship traveled through the stars, and it was headed straight for Journey 6, the planet where Kale was born in chains. Inside the ship, the crew worked hard. Lena stayed in the command center, learning the systems. Darrow repaired the engines and adjusted the shields. Knox trained in the weapons bay, preparing for the fight ahead. Kale moved between them all, planning, watching, thinking. He had never felt power like this before, and it scared him. "This isn't about revenge," he said to the crew. "This is about freedom." "But revenge sounds nice," Knox replied, checking the charge on his railgun. As they approached Journus 6, they could see the planet's surface. Smoke pouring from mining pits, giant towers watching over slave cities, Zorveth gunships patrolling the sky. This world had broken so many humans. Now it would see something different. Kale called a meeting in the control room. A hollow map floated above the table. "We hit them hard and fast. Darrow, take out the comms towers. Lena, you're flying the drones. Knox, you're with me. We're going down." Lena blinked. "You're going back?" Kale nodded. "We need to show them we're real, that we didn't run, that Earth still fights." Darrow grinned. "Let's burn the chains." The assault began at midnight. First, the sky lit up. Dreadnought cannons fired from orbit, cutting clean lines through the Zorveth defenses. Explosions rocked the control towers. Gunships fell from the air. Panic spread. Then came the drones, small, fast, deadly. Lena flew them like a storm. They slipped through shields and hit fuel depots, power stations, and hangars. Zorveth forces scrambled, unsure of what was happening. And finally, Kale and Knox landed. They dropped into Sector 9, one of the worst slave zones on the planet. People there didn't speak anymore. They only worked, ate, and slept. The spark was gone from their eyes until they saw Kale. He stepped out of the landing pod wearing old human battle armor, black and silver, marked with the Earth symbol on the chest. Knox followed behind, silent and massive, carrying a rail cannon like it was a toy. At first, the slaves stared in silence. Then one voice whispered, "Kyle," another said. He came back. The Zorveth patrols rushed in, shouting orders, weapons raised. But Kale raised his fist and the sky answered. A precision strike from orbit hit just behind the guards, throwing them off balance. Knox opened fire, cutting down 3 more. Kale moved fast. He didn't kill unless he had to. But he made sure. Every Zorveth officer saw something they hadn't seen in decades. Fear. Word spread fast. All across Journus 6, humans stopped working. They looked to the sky and saw strange shapes moving. Earth machines. Old ones. Strong ones. Alive again. Zorveth bases burned. Weapons caches exploded. Prisons opened, and one by one, humans began to rise. They took the weapons dropped from above. They followed the voices coming through old radios. "We are not slaves. We are Earthborn. We rise today." By dawn, Kale and his crew had taken control of Sector 9. Darrow had knocked out the planet's comms grid. Lena hacked the mainframe. Knox was already training locals to fight. The iron dreadnought floated. Above them all, a symbol of power and hope. But then came the warning. "Zorveth fleet inbound," Lena reported. 6 destroyers, 2 carriers. ETA, 1 hour. Kyle stared at the screen. "They're angry." "They should be," Darrow said. "We broke their favorite toy." Knox stood beside the window, silent as always. Kyle looked at his team. "We can't beat a fleet. Not yet. But we can send a message." He walked to the comms panel and opened a frequency. Public, across the Zorveth Empire. Then he spoke. "You called us slaves. You burned our cities. You silenced our world. But we never forgot who we were. Today we stand. Today we rise. Today we burn your lies. This is Earth's voice. And we are coming." The Zorveth fleet arrived just as the dreadnought pulled away. The defenders of Journus 6 were too late. Kale's crew had already loaded hundreds of freed humans into escape ships. Hidden bases were activated. Codes were transmitted across the galaxy to other slave colonies. The fire had started. Now it was spreading. Back in the dreadnought, Kale sat alone in the command chair, staring at the stars. He remembered the stories his mother used to tell about the oceans of Earth, the cities, the songs. He had never seen those things, but now, maybe others would. He heard Lena's voice behind him. There are more out there, more like us. Waiting. Kale nodded. Then we find them. We wake them, all. And then, she asked. He smiled. Then we make their worlds bleed. The Zorveth homeworld shook with fear. Across their empire, screens flashed with Kyle's message. Bold, loud, impossible to silence. We are Earth's voice, and we are coming. The ruling council, made of ancient Zorveth minds, held an emergency meeting in the high tower of Zirash Prime. Never before had a slave dared to speak with such power. Never before had a slave burned one of their military colonies. It was just one ship, one commander hissed. But it lit a fire, replied another. And now it's spreading. Out in the deep stars, far from the capital, Kyle's words had become more than just a message. They had become a spark. In the mining rings of Delta Eros, old humans heard the call. The guards laughed. But that night the humans found hidden weapons buried in forgotten tunnels. On the jungle moon of Veltrin, humans escaped their work camps and vanished into the wild, building resistance camps using parts stolen from Zorveth. Patrols. Even in the frozen factories of Braxil II, where hope had died years ago, humans carved the symbol of Earth into steel walls, a simple star inside a circle, and everywhere they whispered one name, Kyle. In the Iron Dreadnought, Kyle. And his crew watched the rebellion grow. Look at this, Lena said, showing dozens of reports from across the Empire. We woke them up. Kale studied the messages. Each one was different. Some were desperate, some angry, some full of pain, but all shared one thing: hope. Can we reach them? Kale asked. Not all, Lena said, but some are close, one in particular. Here. She pointed to a planet called Vargan's Gate, near an old human communication hub. Zorveth tech is weak there. If we land, we can build a relay, send stronger messages, organize them. Kyle nodded. Then we go. But we don't just talk. We show them we fight. Vargan's Gate was dry and broken, its surface covered in sand and cracked metal. Once it had been a trade planet. Now it was just a slave hub, quiet, forgotten. Kale and the crew landed on the dark side of the planet. The Dreadnought's engines went silent. Small team. Quick strike, Kale said. We secure the comm tower. We broadcast. We vanish. Knox grunted. My kind of mission. Darrow packed EMP grenades. Lena prepared a small drone unit. Kyle checked his blade, a short, curved weapon passed down from his father, one of the last human relics left. They moved fast through the sandstorms, dressed in black, blending with the shadows. The Zorveth guards didn't expect anything. Slaves here were weak, beaten, scared. Until now. Kale burst into the main compound like a ghost. Knox followed, slamming a guard into a wall. Darrow disabled the defense grid. Lena took the tower. It was done in 9 minutes. From the top of the relay tower, Kale looked at the stars and spoke again. This time, he didn't hide. This time, the whole galaxy would hear. To the humans still in chains, we see you. To those hiding in shadows, we hear you. To the Zorveth, your time is ending. We are not slaves. We are Earthborn, and we are taking our galaxy back. The message spread fast, too fast to stop. Slave. Worlds picked up the signal and rebroadcasted it again and again. It reached planets the Zorveth hadn't visited in years. It echoed through junk stations, shipyards, and ruins. Somewhere in the debris field of old Mars, an ancient human AI flickered back to life. On the sea moon of Lix, a small child who had never seen Earth whispered the word home for the first time. And on Braxil II, an old human warrior pulled his rusted helmet from the wall, cleaned it, and began training the young ones. The spark had become fire. But not everyone was ready. In the Zorveth war chamber, the supreme strategist growled, "Enough." He slammed his claw on the map of the galaxy. "Kill the signal, destroy the dreadnought, burn every planet that dares to rise." He ordered the release of the Scorch Legion, a brutal task force known for turning rebel planets into ash. "They want a war?" he hissed. "We'll show them extinction." Back aboard the dreadnought, Lena's face turned pale. "Scorch Legion," she whispered. "They're moving toward the outer rings. They're going to wipe the colonies we just woke." Kale stared at the data. They didn't have enough ships, not enough weapons. The people rising up were miners, workers, children, not soldiers. "We don't have time," Darrow said. "We make time," Kyle replied. "We fight smart. We make noise. We draw them in." "How?" Lena asked. Kyle looked up. "We hit a world so deep in their territory, they'll have to turn back." Darrow blinked. "You mean an inner core world?" Kale nodded. "We take the battle to them." The others stared in silence. It was insane. It was impossible. It was human. Kyle walked to the controls and set a course. "Get ready," he said. "Let's light the stars." The stars ahead were dark, cold, and silent. But Kyle knew what waited beyond them, the Zorveth core world of Zarthun, the very heart of the Empire. Billions lived there, including the ruling elite. It was the last place they expected a slave, ship to strike. That was exactly why Kale chose it. He stood at the front of the dreadnought's command deck, staring at the swirling space before them. Behind him, Lena worked on hacking the Zorveth's defense systems. Nox sharpened his plasma blade. Darrow loaded the last EMP warheads into the launch tubes. None of them spoke. They all knew what this mission meant. It wasn't just an attack. It was a message. Zarthuan was a shining jewel of the Empire, covered in gold towers, glowing highways, and ships flying in perfect patterns across the sky. No war had ever touched it, not until now. As the dreadnought exited warp space, alarms screamed across the planet. Kyle's voice broadcasted again, this time across every Zorveth communication system, overriding their secure channels. "You called us weak. You called us less. But you forgot what burns in human blood. You forgot we came from Earth." The dreadnought plunged through the first wave of planetary defense drones, silent, powerful, and precise. Lena shouted, "Shields holding! We're in!" They streaked past tall cities, shocking civilians and soldiers alike. Panic spread in the Zorveth capital like wildfire. Darrow dropped EMP bombs that shut down the defense grid for 60 seconds, just enough time. Nox growled, "We're above the council tower." Kyle nodded. "Let's end this." A strike team of only 4 humans landed on the highest platform of the council tower. The guards didn't expect them. By the time they reacted, it was already too late. Kyle moved like lightning, dodging blasts and striking fast with his curved blade. Nox cleared entire groups with crushing power. Lena hacked into their shield systems mid-fight. Darrow dropped smoke and fire as they advanced. Inside the tower, Zorveth leaders scrambled. They had no plan for this, no training for this. Their nightmare had become real. Kale burst into the chamber where the high strategist stood, protected by elite guards. The Zorveth leader bared his teeth. "You think this will change anything, human?" Kale's eyes burned with fire. "No," he said. "I think this will start everything." He threw a plasma charge into the command core, destroying the central command link that connected the brow. Zorveth fleet to the Empire. Every warship, every drone, every colony, suddenly cut off. The Empire went blind, and the galaxy woke up. The message spread within hours. Zarthuan has fallen. 1 dreadnought, 4 rebels, billions watching across the stars. Humans cheered, and even some alien species long oppressed by the Zorveth rose up too. The rebellion became a revolution. Mining worlds turned into factories for weapons. Slave colonies became strongholds. Abandoned stations came alive with resistance fleets. The Galaxy changed overnight. But victory had a price. As Kale and his team retreated, the Zorveth launched their final weapon, a planet-breaker cannon, buried deep in Zarthun's crust. The dreadnought barely escaped as the planet erupted behind. Them Zarthun burned in fire and ash, the Empire's heart, destroyed. In deep space, far from the ruins, Kale stood alone for a moment staring at the stars. He remembered the chains, he remembered the silence of Earth's fall, and now he heard a sound he hadn't heard in years. Hope. Lena joined him. It's done. No, Kyle said quietly. It's just begun. He turned to see hundreds of human ships, built from scrap and stolen parts, coming into formation around the dreadnought. Some had symbols scratched into their hulls. Others flew. The old Earth flag, all of them followed one voice, Kale's voice. Later, in the ruins of an old human station rebuilt as the new command center, Kale stood before thousands of rebels, human and alien alike. He raised his hand. We were slaves. We were forgotten. But now, we are free. We are not just fighting back. We are taking our place in the stars. The crowd roared, some cried, some stood in silence overwhelmed by what had been reclaimed. Earth was gone, but its spirit burned brighter than ever, and somewhere, in the far void, a new world waited. A place where the children of Earth would build again, not in chains, but in freedom. The war was over. The Zorveth Empire, once feared across 1,000 systems, had collapsed. Its fleets drifted powerless. Its capital world was now just dust in the stars. Humanity had won its freedom, but peace never came easy. Kale stood alone on the observation deck of the rebuilt dreadnought, now called the Ashborn. It hovered silently above the broken remains of Earth. The planet was dark, silent, a ghost. No cities, no lights, no voices. Only ruins, buried under ash and time. But Kale had returned, for a reason. Lena, he called through the comms. Bring up the coordinates. Her voice came through. Are you sure about this? The old AI core hasn't responded. In decades. Kale's eyes didn't blink. It called us before. Maybe it still remembers. They landed deep inside what used to be North America. An ancient command bunker, hidden under layers of rock and collapsed buildings. Inside, dust floated like mist. The walls were cracked but still held the marks of Earth's last defense force. Symbols, names, maps. And then, they found it. A steel door sealed tight. Behind it, an old voice echoed. Mechanical, tired, but still alive. Access granted. Welcome back, Commander. Kale's breath caught. The Earth Defense AI had survived. Its name, Ares. Lights flickered. And screens glowed. A flickering hologram appeared. An old man's face formed from light and data. Humanity has returned, it said. You have awoken the fire. Kyle stepped forward. We were enslaved. But we're free now. The Zorveth are gone. The AI paused. You think the Zorveth were the greatest threat? The temperature in the room seemed to drop. They were only the beginning. The AI showed them something, hidden data, a transmission from deep space. Coordinates from a region of the galaxy marked no contact zone. We stopped transmitting long ago, Ares said. But something, or someone, has been watching. Kale frowned. Who? The hologram shifted, and then they saw it. A fleet, massive, ancient, and not Zorveth, ships with twisted metal, impossible structures. No signs of life. Yet they moved like predators. These ships never responded to communication. They destroyed probes. They moved through dead systems, silent, until now. Now, they are coming. Lena studied the data with wide eyes. These ships, they're older than the Zorveth, maybe older than Earth itself. Kyle's voice dropped. So Earth didn't fall to the Zorveth by accident. Ares replied. The Zorveth were running from something. Earth was just in their path. Silence fell. What they thought was the end was only a chapter. Outside, the Ashborn hovered. Above the ruins, Kale and his team stood together, staring at the sky. We won a war, Lena whispered. But now a storm is coming. Nox cracked his knuckles. Let it come. Darrow smirked. We've got fire now. Kale nodded slowly. We're forged in chains, and we broke them. He looked up at the stars. Now we face the darkness free. Let them come. Far beyond known space. In a place with no name, an alien eye opened, and it remembered Earth. The stars looked calm, but silence in space was never peaceful. It was a warning. Something was coming. Kale stood in the war room of the Ashborn, staring at the holographic map. A red marker blinked slowly in deep space. It was far beyond the edge of known systems, beyond the old trade routes, beyond the reach of the fallen Zorveth. A dead zone, unexplored, unclaimed, unnamed. But now, it was waking up. The signal came again, a repeating pulse, one tone, one pause, one word, return. Kale's hands clenched. Ares, he said. What does the signal mean? The old AI answered calmly. It's not human, not Zorveth, but it uses human code. Very old, possibly pre-Earthfall. Kale's eyes narrowed. Then it came from someone who knew us. Lena sat beside the scanner array. It could be a trap. Darrow leaned against the wall. It always is. But Nox cracked his neck and grinned. Doesn't mean we shouldn't walk into it with a smile. Kyle looked at his crew. These weren't just rebels anymore. They were the core of the new resistance. Alliance survivors, fighters, leaders. He turned toward the viewport. We're not running. Set a course. The ship shifted as it powered up. Their heading, the outer dark. They reached it after 3 jumps, the edge of the galaxy. Beyond it was only black space. And there, the signal became clear. It wasn't just a pulse anymore. It was a voice. Human. Distorted but familiar. This is Captain Riza Talon, Earth Fleet Echo Class. If anyone hears this, we failed. And now something's watching us from the void. Do not respond, do not follow us. The message ended in static. Lena's voice cracked. Echo Class. That was from the first wave of Earth's colony fleets. They vanished before the war even began. Kyle felt cold. And now we know. Why? They followed the last trace of the signal to a dark system. A dead star. A planet with no sun. Frozen and cracked. Orbiting it was a ship. No lights. No movement. Just drifting. It was massive. Older than anything Kale had ever seen. Not Zorveth. Not human. Something else. Lena gasped. It's not dead. It's hibernating. Ares confirmed it. Energy signature rising. Weapons charging. Life signs. Unknown. Kale gave the order. Shields up. Get us out of here, now. But it was too late. The alien ship pulsed once. A beam of light struck the Ashborn. Not a weapon, but a scan. It passed through every wall, every system, every soul. It saw us. Ares whispered. It knows us, and then the alien ship spoke, in clear English. You are children of the fire. We remember your kind. You broke the chains of the Zorveth, but you carry the spark we once extinguished. You should not have returned. The signal cut, and the stars trembled. Kyle staggered back. What was that? Ares spoke slowly. They called us children of the fire. That means they've met humans before. Darrow looked shaken. But Earth was alone when the Zorveth found us, right? No one answered. Lena whispered, What if we weren't? That night, Kale couldn't sleep. He stood alone at the viewport looking at the strange stars. He remembered his dreams as a child, of freedom, of Earth, of fire in the sky. But now the fire had returned, and it had brought something ancient with. The next morning, a second signal arrived, not a warning, not a threat, an invitation, coordinates, one word: awaken. Kale stared at it. This wasn't war anymore. This was something bigger, older, and it had just begun. They had broken their chains. They had burned their masters. But now, they had awakened the darkness that watched between the stars, and the stars would never be silent again.